I always figured the worst thing my HOA could do was slap me with a fine for leaving my trash cans out a few minutes late until the night I found a hidden tunnel dug straight under my house. No kidding. My name's Keith Wood, and I'd lived here over 20 years without a single crack in the foundation. Then out of nowhere, weird vibrations started shaking the floorboards soft at first, then strong enough to knock tools off my basement shelves. I thought maybe the city was working on the street, or I had a busted pipe until one night the concrete in the back corner of my basement started bulging up like something was breathing underneath. When I brushed aside the loose dirt, what I found made my stomach drop, a big gaping hole leading right into the dark. Warm air was rising out of there, smelling like fresh earth and weirdly machine oil. So what did I do? Grabbed a flashlight, climbed down, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Support beams, cables, a humming generator, and a set of construction plans stamped with the logo of my HOA. That's when I realized Delilah Gray, our power-hungry HOA president, had authorized a secret tunnel project under my house. And let me tell you, I was about to blow the whole thing wide open. You asked me a year ago if I had any problems with my neighborhood, I'd have laughed. No way. I bought this house back in my 30s, 3 bedrooms, a little backyard garage, just big enough for my old Ford. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I built a little woodworking station, planted a couple maples out front, and spent weekends grilling with my neighbor Tom Barrett. He's the type who'd lend you a ladder before you could ask. Life was quiet, predictable, good, until the HOA changed. Back then it was just a formality, collected small dues, strung up some lights for the holidays, sent out the occasional mow your lawn reminder. But last spring, they elected a new president, Delilah Gray. Woman had a chin like a hatchet, a voice sharper than a dentist's drill, and a smile so tight it looked painful. She strutted into every meeting in a bright pink blazer, wielded her clipboard like it was a weapon, and started handing out rule violations like she was delivering court summons. She fined one lady because her Christmas wreath clashed with the neighborhood color palette, no joke. Another neighbor got a warning because his trash can was visible for 12 minutes after pickup. 12 minutes. I tried to stay off her radar, but you know how that goes. Sooner or later, she came for me over a rake I'd left leaning against the porch, not even blocking anything. Came back from grabbing a glass of water, found one of her infamous yellow slips on my front door, yard equipment visible from street. Remove immediately or be fined. I stood there looking around for a camera crew. Nope, just Delilah's world and the rest of us living in it. I blew off that ticket. Figured it was a technicality, nothing more. Then came the beautification guidelines. Delilah insisted everyone repaint their shutters in one of 3 approved shades of beige. Mine were dark walnut, tasteful, subtle. Apparently that didn't fit her community cohesion plan. I ignored that too. After that, Delilah started watching me literally. She'd slow her walk past my house, scan my yard like a predator just looking for something to sight. She once stood across the street for 10 minutes just staring at my siding. No clipboard, no camera. Just that cold, calculating stare. Should have known then she was up to something bigger than paint colors. But I didn't nod until the night of the HOA meeting. They'd sent 3 reminders by mail, so I forced myself to go. The clubhouse smelled like burnt coffee and anxiety. Delilah droned on about holiday banners and hedge trimming, but then she got to her infrastructure enhancement proposal about modernizing drainage paths and upgrading underground utilities for the good of the community. Sounded innocent, right? But when she said, some access will be required through older easement zones behind certain lots, including Lot 27, my stomach dropped. Lot 27 was my house. I raised my hand. What kind of access? Delilah flashed that smile, the one that never reached her eyes. Oh, just temporary work behind your property line. Nothing that'll affect your home. Can we see the plans, I asked? They're still under review, she shot back. Little too quick if you ask me. After the meeting, Tom caught me in the parking lot looking uneasy. Keith, something's up. She's been talking to the contractors, real secretive stuff. I nodded. I noticed. You think it's just drainage upgrades? He asked. I shook my head. With Delilah, that's when you worry the most. Over the next few weeks, the project picked up steam, but no homeowner saw a full set of plans. Just pretty diagrams with vague labels and blue arrows. Meanwhile, weird things started happening in my yard. Flags, spray paint marks behind my fence, all fluorescent pink, like Delilah's blazer. One morning, I caught two guys with surveying gear pacing the back edge of my property. "What are you doing?" I called out. "HOA assessment?" one mumbled, not even looking up. "Assessment for what?" "Utility alignment." But their equipment wasn't pointed toward the street. It was pointed right at my house. That night, lying in bed, the vibration started again, tap, 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 then a low, distant rumble. Old houses settle, I told myself. But when the first crack appeared in the basement wall hairline at first, then doubling overnight, I knew something was seriously off. Dust started piling up under the crack, a sure sign the foundation was shifting. Then, like clockwork, the HOA sent me a structural integrity concern notice, urging me to let a board-approved inspector into my house. I refused. Felt like a setup. 2 days later, Delilah herself knocked on my door, folder in hand, hair sprayed solid as a helmet. "Keith, I'm concerned about your home," she said, all sugary. "Are you?" I blocked the doorway. "We've received reports of unusual movement. It's my duty to ensure safety. My foundation was fine until a month ago." I snapped. She blinked, then tried to threaten me with some Section 14B nonsense about non-cooperation. I shut the door on her. As the lock clicked, a chill ran up my spine. The vibrations under my house were getting stronger, and Delilah definitely knew what was going on. The night everything changed started with a thud that knocked a picture off my wall. I rushed to the basement, air stale and weirdly warm. The crack I'd been watching had widened. Kneeling down, I felt warm, humid air coming through like the house was breathing. And you know houses don't breathe, people do. I pressed my ear to the floor, tap, tap, tap. Someone was digging. I spent the next day calling utility companies. "No construction scheduled, sir. If anyone is digging under your property, it's unauthorized." That word echoed unauthorized. And in my neighborhood, unauthorized usually meant HOA. That night, the noise was louder. Distinct shovels, the basement walls humming like a living creature. Then I saw it, the concrete in the corner bulging upward, dirt piling beside the seam. I grabbed a trowel, started digging. It wasn't long before I hit a gap. A tunnel straight down, then curving out under my house. I tied a rope to a beam, took my flashlight, and dropped in. The air was thick hot, the smell of diesel strong. The tunnel was narrow, but obviously man-made, wood supports, boot prints, a humming generator, and a rolled-up blueprint on a crate. I unrolled it, hands shaking. There it was, Graywood Estates, HOA Infrastructure Expansion Plan, stamped with Delilah Gray's name. That's when I heard voices down the tunnel. I killed my light, hid behind a stack of lumber. Two men talking, one nervous, the other pushing him. Then Delilah's sharp voice. "We need visible damage. We need city inspectors to see cracks so we can condemn the house and move forward with the plan." That was her game. Undermine my foundation. Call in the city. Declare my house unsafe. Force a buyout for pennies. Delilah came into the chamber, flashlight sweeping the room. My heart pounded so hard I thought she'd hear it. One of her guys, Richard the engineer, nearly caught me, but I slid back quietly, ready to bolt. But then a clump of dirt gave way and Delilah spun around. "There. Someone's down here." Suddenly her light was in my face, three of us frozen in shock. Keith, the homeowner, Richard, the nervous engineer, Delilah, the queen bee herself. She tried to play tough. "You have no business here. You're digging under my house," I shouted. "You're trespassing in a construction zone," she barked. "Under my own home," I laughed. She tried to bluff, saying I'd signed some authorization. "No," I growled. "I damn well didn't. I held up the blueprint. You broke the law. I'm betting the city, county, and state will love this. Delilah threatened me, if you walk out of here, you'll regret it." I just smirked. Funny, I was planning to tell you the same thing. I climbed out, locked the basement, and called Tom. He showed up, took one look at me covered in dirt, and said, "Man, you look like you crawled out of a grave." Close enough. We documented everything, photos, video, the tunnel, the cracks, every detail. I called a structural engineer, Greg, who showed up in the middle of the night. "This is excavation stress," he said, touching the bulging slab. "You need to stay upstairs. This is a collapse risk." Then he heard the sound of digging from below. "There are people down there," he said, jaw tight. "They're risking lives." Tom and I called the city inspector, then a lawyer, Evan Turner, a guy who looked like he ate fine print for breakfast. I told him everything. He started making a list: trespass, forgery, sabotage, you name it. Delilah crossed every line he said. We'll make sure she answers for it. The city inspector arrived, scanned the basement, saw the voids, issued an emergency stop work order on all HOA projects. Delilah showed up at my door, pink blazer pressed to perfection, 2 board members behind her. My lawyer shut her down cold. You're trespassing. The city is investigating. She went pale for the first time I'd ever seen. It wasn't long before the board turned on her. One member stammered, "You told us it was a service corridor." Another whispered, "Did you forge the vote?" Delilah tried to order me to cooperate. I cracked the window and said, "Gonna dig a second tunnel." Even Tom couldn't help laughing. Next morning, the neighborhood exploded with activity. City vehicles rolled in. Inspectors marched to the HOA clubhouse. The zoning chief demanded records. Delilah tried to lie, then screamed, "Fine. I ordered the tunnel. It was for the good of the community." Dead silence. The zoning chief replied, "Thank you. That confession will be added to the case file." Reporters showed up. Neighbors crowded around asking if the rumors were true. Someone yelled, "Are my dues paying for this mess?" Someone else asked. "Is the tunnel movie big? I just told folks to let the city do its job." But inside I felt relief for the first time in weeks. Then the real moment of justice. A black SUV rolled up and Detective Harris, local legend for nailing city fraud cases, got out. "Miss Gray," he said, "come with me." She pleaded, claimed she did nothing wrong, but even her board had had enough. As she was escorted away, she snarled, "This is your fault." I shook my head. "No, Delilah, it's yours." By noon, my lawyer got the injunction. Every HOA activity froze in city, launching a formal investigation. Delilah spending the night with some tough questions. The board scrambled. Neighbors started talking about dissolving the HOA entirely. Linda, one of the board members, came up to me, eyes teary, said, "You did the right thing, Keith, even if it was terrifying." That evening, the neighborhood felt lighter. Kids played outside. People waved. It was like everyone realized how much the HOA had been choking the life out of the place. Detective Harris called to tell me Delilah confessed, admitted to forging the consent forms. "Your evidence probably saved your life, Keith," he said. That one hit me. Delilah didn't care if my house collapsed with me inside. But I did, and I fought back. When it was over, the tunnel became more than evidence. It was a metaphor. Sometimes the real threats are the ones that happen quietly beneath the surface by people who think they're untouchable. But when you shine a light down there, the truth can't hide. This whole mess taught me you don't beat corruption by keeping quiet. You beat it by standing up, documenting everything, refusing to let fear decide for you. So let me ask, have you ever tangled with an HOA or a neighbor who crossed the line? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want to see what happens the next time an HOA loses its mind, make sure to subscribe. This war's just getting started.